All right, momentary camera interruption. And we're back. Okay, so we've left off, we've got this bottom navigation menu. Now we're gonna add some icons into it. So we're gonna take these ionic icons, we're gonna drop one in there for now. We're gonna have three, but let's get some settings set up first to make our lives a little easier. Let's go ahead and set this as the home icon. Get four different options. Let's choose, this one right here, and let's make it white so that we're keeping with the theme. And now what we want this icon to grow in size correctly as well. We're gonna center that. We're gonna make the width and the height a percentage based. And this took a little bit of playing to get used to find settings that worked and sized correctly. So what I found works is 13% width and 100% height. So we're gonna set not a max. We're gonna make the height 100% max. So it'll grow in size. Now we don't see anything here because we need to enable vertical stretch. So what vertical stretch does is it allows it to stretch vertically, which is what this dynamic setting here is. So no matter what, it's always gonna be 30% wide, but it's gonna grow in size correctly. We'll see that here as we add some more in here. So let's go ahead and name these. I think I might have forgotten to name something at some point here, but we'll go back later and do it. So we're going to name it footer to know where it is. We're going to name it icon so that we know what kind of element it is, and we're going to name it nav1 because it's going to give us, it's our first navigation icon. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and just copy this twice. So copy, paste, and paste. Now we have three homes. And if I go over into responsive, what we'll see is they should adjust themselves. So as the page gets wider, they separate, and as it gets smaller. And then if we get too small, now you see them start to kind of shrink down to fit what the device can handle. So this is super important because different devices have different, different sizes, and that can really mess with you if you don't set this up correctly. So we don't obviously want three homes, so let's go ahead and switch these out. For this demo, we're not going to actually have any content on these, so you're just going to pick some icons, something that makes sense. Let's go ahead and choose the little menu type icon and something else, something that would make sense. I don't want to go too far down. Don't want to waste too much time on this. Let's do like a little reporting thing. Great. So now we've got three icons. We've got home starting to kind of look like an app, right? Like this is a very ugly app, but this is what an app would look like. Cool. So from here, now we can see the same thing, right? But now you've got different icons that are going to size. So boom, smaller, bigger. Very nice. All right, cool. So now that we got a top, we got a bottom. Now we need to have different content depending on which tab is selected, right? So if I'm on the home icon, I should see certain content. If I'm on this middle icon, I should see a different. So as you move through different tabs, you see different things. We're not going to build out that content, but what we're going to do is we're going to build out the foundation for how you can put that content in there. So same kind of process we've been following, right? We've got these floating groups. Now we're going to put a group inside that floating group. So we're going to start here. We're going to do one group, and you can see it's a fixed. One day Bubble is going to update that because we all know that fixed sucks. And let's go ahead and update that. Let's do columns because typically we're going to have content within here that's going to be stacking on top of itself because that's the typical layout for a mobile app. So we've got this column. We want to we want to center it, and we want to set the width. See if you can guess it. What are we going to set the width to? 100%. No, not 200%. We want 100%. So 100%, that's going to do is it's going to fill up this entire page. And the height is going to be 100% as well. And let's make that fixed. So now we've got this group. Really, as far as we see right here, it doesn't do anything, right? The floating group did the same thing. But let's go ahead and change the color. So let's remove the style. Let's set a background of a flat color. And now you can see, hey, this group sitting inside that floating group is overwriting with what we see there. So let's, I don't know, pick that color. Full disclosure, I'm colorblind, so I'm not even going to try to tell you what color I pick. It's just going to be whatever I have. And then let's name this group, let's see, what should we name it? Content for tab 1. So now we've got content for tab 1. and this group, and it's a different color. And to make my life easy, I'm going to set these settings now, and we'll kind of come back and explain what they are. So we don't want this element to be visible on the page load because we're going to have multiple content groups. And we want to collapse this when it's hidden. So if this tab is not visible, then we don't want to see it. It's gonna remove itself. If you don't check that, everything stacks on top of itself. So even though the group may not be visible, Bubble holds the space on the page. So we want to make sure that it's collapsed when hidden, and we don't want to show it right away. So let's go ahead and open that up. So now I can see this. I'm just going to copy it. We're going to paste it a couple times. So we're going to have 1, 2, and 3 for a total of 4 tabs. Now you might say, Travis, I see 3 tabs here at the bottom. Why do you have 4? Don't forget about your settings. So one of these is going to be settings. So we're going to do content tab 1. Let's rename this one. Doesn't matter which order we name them right now. Let's go with 2 and 3 and 4. It's a little easier when you open up the elements navigator window thing, elements tree, whatever it's called, because these guys are all sitting on top of each other. And I'm going to name tab 4 settings so I know kind of like which tab content it should have. Great. You can always rename these later when we decide what content goes where, but this is what we've got so far. So now we're going to change these colors so that later we can kind of see when each one's showing. So let's just pick some ugly stuff here. And let's go down into these really bright things. That didn't seem very bright. And last one, let's pick a color I don't think we've used. Probably somewhere over here. I don't remember clicking over there. That's going to look hideous. I can already tell. Great. So now if I turn these off, you can see that each of these is kind of sitting on top of each other. And man, that was right. That is very hideous. That hurts my eyes. And so we've got these 4 different groups all sitting on top of each other, and they all have the same type of settings. So hide and show as we want. Great. So now honestly, we've got the foundations for an app. So we're almost there. Now we just need to make it dynamic. So we need to have the user be able to control what they see on this page. And we're going to do that with a couple different things. The first is, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, custom states. You need to know those. We're going to go over them really quick. They're not super complicated and they're super powerful. And the other one is workflow rules. So we're going to change that custom state with some workflow rules. Let's start by making a custom state. Now, I will admit I'm not no extreme expert in this yet, so I find it's best to house a custom state at the page level if you're going to use it across your entire app. Sometimes I will then implement lower custom states for content that is specific to a certain tab. That's what I found works for me. If you do it differently, please let me know. I would love to. So let's go ahead. We selected page mobile, so now we're at the mobile, the whole page here. We're going to make a custom state. We're going to call this selected tab. And the state type is going to be text because we're just going to fill it in, and we're going to hit create. We're going to set a default value so that when the page loads, this custom state has this value in there, and that's going to be tab 1. And what that's going to do is when we load this page for the first time, it's going to just default to showing as tab 1 because of some of the rules we're going to implement later. So again, this will probably make a little more sense as we get going. Great, so now that we've got that custom state, now we're going to start populating that custom state, and then we're going to implement some visibility rules on it. So let's go ahead and do our first one. So anytime the user clicks home, I want to set the selected tab to tab 1 so that we know that that's the content that shows. And I'm choosing tab 1 because that's going to be our default, right? So if I look here, tab 1 is my default value. So this is the nomenclature that we're going to stick with. You can pick whatever you want. You just have to stay consistent. Great. So if I click on the icon, I can hit start and edit, and then I can come in here and I can go down to element actions, set the state. I'm going to choose the element. It's going to be mobile. Custom state's the only state we have right now, which is selected tab, and let's say tab 1. So every time that icon is clicked, it's going to set the state to tab 1, and that'll be extremely helpful for later. I'm going to do one more like this, and then we're going to do it a little bit faster. So now we've got a really poorly named element here. So that's I told you I was going to mess that up. So let's do the same thing. So they click that second tab. We're going to hit set state. We're going to select mobile. We're going to go here, say selected tab, and we're going to set the value to now tab 2. Oh, great. So now we can just take this and we can copy it and we can paste it so we don't have to go through all those steps over again. And we can select Well, see, this is where naming would come in handy, because if I had named these right, I would know which one I'm doing. So I can't do it that way because I was lazy. Let's go ahead and rename these really quick. So floating footer, we go into our nav group. Let's go ahead and rename nav 1, copy 2. That it's selecting the second one, so we can just say this is nav 2. And then let's select our third icon and nav 3. And now if I'm in the workflow editor, I can see that these are named correctly. I can copy this, I can paste it, and then I can just select, I hate how it jumps like that. I can just select nav 3 because I know it's nav 3, and then I can select tab 2 and make that tab 3. And then we can do it one more time, copy, paste, probably could have just pasted one more time, but that's okay. And we're gonna select the, okay, I didn't rename this one, but we know what it is, right? It's the Ionic icon, whatever that says, Android something or other. And we wanna set this to tab 4. And then let's go ahead and rename that icon so that we know. So we're gonna call that nav, or what's this called? Header icon settings, or tab 4. Let's do tab 4 settings. Try and stay as consistent as possible. Tab 4 settings. Great. So now we've got this rule that's going to set this custom state. That custom state isn't driving any logic yet, but that's what's coming right now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hide and show these content groups based on the custom state that's set. So we already know that tab 1 is our first one, and it's going to be shown by default. So we're going to go over and click on tab 4, go into conditional, and we're going to write this logic setting here. So when, and you can see it's not showing it, you could scroll all the way through this list, or I can just type mobile. So when mobile's selected tab is tab 1, this element is visible, and I want that to be yes. So whenever mobile selected tab is tab 1, the element is visible. If you uncheck this, it would hide it. If you check it, it shows it. And because we don't have it visible on page load, it's going to look for that setting in order to load it. So now we're going to take and we're going to apply that same type of condition with some slight variation to all of our content groups. So now instead of tab 1, I want tab 2. And for tab 3, I want tab 3. And then I'll have tab 4, I want tab 4. So you can see I can take the same logic. I don't have to rewrite it every time. That takes time, and time is money. And so now I've got these dynamic settings here. So let's review my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. It looks good. The only thing we have left to do is change that text, but now I can go into responsive, but it's not going to show me anything. I actually need to interact with this app. So let's go ahead and preview it. You can see it's going to stretch all the way across my page. It's going to look huge and ugly. And I'm going to get rid of debug mode because I do not like debug mode. Sam, I do not like debug mode. Heck of a time for the internet to not want to load, huh? Should we tell each other a joke? There we go. Okay, so we got some funky stuff going on here. We're going to have to fix that. But let's go ahead and resize that. Boom. And what we see here, got kind of an app looking thing. And if I click on these icons, it should change our content group, right? So you can imagine you got different content on each page. As I click these, boom, it's adjusting. So I've got 4 different ways of displaying data. Now this isn't changing, it says home. We can change that, and we can be super lazy and use our custom state names for now. You can get more creative later with different ones. We're gonna have to take a look at that, whatever's going on there. But the important thing is on a mobile device, it's gonna look good. If it gets too big, maybe we need to kind of look at some of our settings here. So let's go back in here. Let's do one thing first. I wanna change the text depending on what tab I'm on. Now I'm gonna be super lazy, I'm gonna use the custom state like I said. But what am I doing? Getting carried away. We're going to go in here. We're going to get rid of just the hard-coded text. We're going to insert dynamic, and we're going to use the custom state. So I'm going to look up the custom state, selected tab, and that's what it's going to do. So now let's go ahead and refresh this and drag it back down. There we go. So now we see it says tab 1 because I'm on tab 1, tab 2 because I'm on tab 2, tab 3, and tab 4. So you can obviously imagine you could use conditional rules like I was about to do which would probably be a little better because then you can just use your custom states as they are, and then a different text. So you could say like if mobile selected tab is home, or tab 1 text is home, and you could do rules like that all the way through. But for now, this is what we got. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here. So that is centered. I think this is our problem. It's vertically aligning in the center, but it's not stretching. So let's go ahead and implement stretch, and let's see if that fixes our problem. Half the video is gonna be you guys waiting for it to load. That did not fix our problem. So that wasn't it. Let's go ahead and look at our previous example that we're copying. And it looks like, so we've got line to parent, and that's centered. That's centered. Fit width to content, fit height to content. I wonder if I missed that setting. Fit height to content, no, that's good. That's all good. Let's look at this. Align to parent, and how do we have this? I'm gonna go do this with you guys so that you can kind of see what my problem is when I solve it. Horizontal alignment is centered, so this looks different than what I have. So maybe my floating header group is a column. Let's check what I used. I probably didn't use column. So we're going to go to the header group, floating header, I used row. So let's go ahead and choose column. And now, oh, I just saw it do something. I like that. I like when it does things. So let's go ahead and open this up. So we got floating header is now a column. Header group, we want to center it. And then we want to make sure, so we've got the icon still on the right and the text is in the middle. So let's go ahead and refresh and let's check that out. We still got some funky stuff going on. What's happening here? So let's see. We got width, it's not our width, it's our minimum height. I feel like that might be our problem. I think it's supposed to be a fixed type. Mobile 1 was our example. So let's look at that. Yeah, so fixed type. So let's go ahead and set that. You guys can see like one little setting is really messing with me. And that's part of doing bubble development, is kind of figuring it out. But there it is. I was trying to adjust our height. Our minimum height was set at 100, so then it was adjusting beyond the minimum. And we don't ever want to do that. We always want it to be fixed within the container it has. So your fixed height of this content is 100%. And that's how it's done. We find and we fix our problems. So now we've got a fully functioning, sexy looking app. How do I move myself out here? Woo! And if I click home, I'm already there. If I click here, there, boom, there. Now, obviously, in another exercise, we'll go in on how you format the content inside of here. That can get kind of tricky, especially when you want to have multiple layouts, because most things aren't just a boring column layout. But that'll be a different exercise. So if you've gotten this far, congratulations, pat yourself on the back. You now have a dynamic web page that you can turn into an app later. You could access this from your phone or your device, and you'd be able to, play around with it. It'll behave a little weird, but when we wrap it fully into a mobile application wrapper, then you would have a working mobile application. You could submit it to the App Store, get some users, get some content, add some ads later. I don't know, make some money. Great. Thanks for joining me. It's been a fun ride. Hasta luego. Go.